When did you first decide you weren't enough? Was it the first time they laughed at your dream? The first time you fell short in front of everyone who expected more? Or was it quieter, a slow erosion over time? When the world didn't clap and you mistook the silence for failure? You see, the greatest lie ever told wasn't that you can't succeed. It was that your value had to be earned, that you had to become something, do something, win something before you could call yourself worthy. But here's the truth, that every champion learns the hard way. If you don't define yourself worth undeniably, irrevocably, the world will define it for you. And it will always sell you short. Every empire is first built in the mind. Before there were cities, there were visions. Before Edison lit the world, he saw the light inside himself. Before Carnegie built steel, he forged a mindset harder than iron. The world will tell you to start with strategy. But strategy without self-belief is a blueprint on fire. Mindset is the soil. Nothing grows without it. And yet most people walk around like renters in their own mind, paying attention to every critic, seeking permission from every doubter, waiting for approval like it's currency. A champion doesn't rent space in their head. They own it outright. They renovate every limiting belief, tear down every wall of doubt, and build a cathedral of conviction. You don't rise by waiting for motivation. You rise when you master the environment inside you. And that mastery starts the moment you say, I no longer negotiate with fear. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. But most people never understand the weight of that truth because they never stop thinking small. You want to know the real problem? People are starving for belief in a world overdosing on doubt. We are surrounded by voices telling us to be realistic, to play it safe, to be practical. But belief isn't practical. Belief is what makes the impractical inevitable. Oprah believed in her voice when they told her she didn't belong on television. Walt Disney believed in magic when the banks said he was delusional. Muhammad Ali believed he was the greatest long before he had a title to prove it. Champions believe before the world believes in them. They don't need consensus. They need clarity. And clarity only comes when belief becomes non-negotiable. Don't ask the world to validate your greatness. Declare it, build it, live it. Because belief is not a feeling. It's a decision. You ever feel like you're running hard but going nowhere? Like your energy is maxed out but your progress is invisible? That's what happens when people chase approval instead of purpose. They climb the ladder only to find it's leaning on the wrong wall. Let me be clear. If you don't know what you stand for, the world will give you something to fall for. Champions are not confused. Their path may twist. Their methods may evolve. But their destination is burned into their soul like a brand. Clarity isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing which questions you'll never stop asking. It's the quiet fire that says, I don't know how long it will take, but I do know where I'm going. Clarity cuts through noise. It silences the distractions. It removes the dead weight of comparison. Because when your vision is clear, you don't need to compete. You just need to continue. Every great life starts with a future that refuses to stay imagined. Vision is more than a dream. It's a promise to yourself. A vow not to waste the one shot you've been given. Eleanor Roosevelt said, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. But let's be honest. Dreams are beautiful. Vision is brutal. Because vision demands you change. It demands you evolve. It demands that you become someone worthy of the destiny you dare to imagine. And most people shrink at that demand. They'd rather stay comfortable. But there's nothing comfortable about being haunted by what could have been. You want to walk with vision? Then understand this. Your future isn't waiting for you. It's daring you to catch it. And it's moving fast. Money fades, fame fades, trends fade, but purpose is immortal. It's the one thing that lights the soul when everything else goes dark. Steve Jobs didn't build Apple to sell phones. He built it to challenge the status quo, to leave a mark that couldn't be erased. And he did. Purpose is what makes you impossible to stop, because people fueled by purpose don't quit. They don't care how many times they fall. They care whether the mission still matters. And if it does, they rise every time. You weren't born to clock in and out of life. You weren't born to survive Monday to Friday and call it living. You were born to matter. You were born to create. You were born to impact. But until you find a purpose that sets your soul on fire, you'll keep chasing things that only light you up temporarily. Let's kill the fantasy once and for all. Motivation doesn't build champions. Discipline does. Motivation is a guest. Discipline is a soldier. One shows up when it's easy. The other shows up no matter what. Michael Jordan shot 1,000 free throws in an empty gym when no one was watching. Kobe Bryant trained at 4 a.m. while others were dreaming. Discipline isn't sexy. It doesn't post on Instagram. But it pays in results that make noise for a lifetime. Champions understand that success is less about big moments and more about small decisions made consistently when no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when every part of you wants to quit. And that's where most people break. But that's where champions are made, in the silence, in the sweat, in the choice to keep going, even when no one's cheering. You can journal your dreams. You can visualize your greatness. You can speak your affirmations into the mirror every morning. But if you don't, none of it means a damn thing. Action is the language of belief. You don't think your way into a new life, you act your way into it. Winners don't wait for the perfect time. They act before they're ready, because they understand one truth. Perfection is just procrastination wearing a suit. You think Carnegie had a 10-step plan before building an empire of steel? No. He took the first step, then the next, and the next. The plan revealed itself to the one bold enough to move without all the answers. The world is overflowing with dreamers, but it is starving for doers. Because action is what separates the I wish I had from the I'm glad I did. There is no growth in hesitation. There is no power in overthinking. There is no glory in standing still. So burn the bridges, burn the backup plan, and start moving like your future is begging you to catch up. Here's what they don't teach you in school. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. Gratitude is a mindset that refuses to bow to darkness. It is the warrior's calm in the chaos. It is how champions find strength when the world turns its back. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring your pain. It means honoring your progress. It means realizing that no matter how far you have to go, you're not where you used to be. Abraham Lincoln lost countless elections before he ever sat in the Oval Office. But he was thankful for the lessons those failures carved into his soul. Because sometimes the losses don't break you. They shape you. And the moment you stop resenting the struggle and start being grateful for what it's forging in you, you stop playing the victim. Gratitude turns trials into fuel. It rewires the mind to see blessings where others see burden. It says, this pain is not punishment, it's preparation. They'll tell you to stay consistent, to stay disciplined, to lock in. And that's all true. But what they don't tell you is that if you don't adapt, you die. Blockbuster didn't adapt. Kodak didn't adapt. And history buried them under the weight of their own success. Adaptability is what separates those who survive from those who lead. The market changes. The game changes. The rules shift while you're sleeping. And if you're so in love with how you used to win, you'll never see how you're losing now. Champions are not married to methods. They're married to mission. And when the terrain changes, they change their footing, not their finish line. Bruce Lee said it best. Be water. Flow around obstacles. Break through walls. Evaporate and rain again. Adaptability isn't weakness. It's evolution. And those who evolve own the future. Let's get one thing straight. You will fall. You will face moments where life knocks the breath out of your lungs. You'll have days where your knees hit the floor harder than your hopes ever soared. And you'll be tempted more than once to stay down. But resilience is what separates legends from forgotten names. It's not about being unbreakable. It's about refusing to stay broken. Nelson Mandela didn't spend 27 years in the cell just to survive. He came out stronger, wiser, sharper, unshaken. Because resilience isn't born in comfort. It's sculpted in chaos. And it only rises in those who decide, I am not done. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be relentless. Because life will test you. Life will pressure you. And life will demand to know, how bad do you want it? And your answer must echo in your action. Enough to rise one more time. Ignorance isn't your enemy. Arrogance is. You can recover from a lack of knowledge. But once you think you know it all, you've already stopped growing. Every champion is a student first. Einstein never stopped asking questions. Jobs never stopped learning from failure. Even the greats remain teachable. Because life only promotes those humble enough to learn from the last level. There's a reason. Success is a cycle and not a straight line. Every mistake, every misstep, every heartbreak, it all carries a lesson. And the lesson is the leverage. When others crumble from failure, champions extract wisdom. When others get bitter, champions get better. They read. They reflect. They study their pain like it's a professor with the answers. Because they know you're not rewarded for what you know. You're rewarded for what you're willing to keep learning. Everyone wants success, but few are willing to raise their standards high enough to meet it. Because standards don't scream. They whisper. They whisper in the small moments when no one is watching. They whisper when you could cut corners, skip reps, sleep in, cheat the clock, or settle for good enough. But make no mistake, the life you experience is a direct reflection of the standards you enforce. Not the ones you write down, not the ones you post online, but the ones you live by when it's hard. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb by hoping. He failed 0 times and refused to lower his standards for what would work. Champions don't tolerate mediocrity internally or externally. They don't negotiate with laziness. They don't entertain weak excuses. And they never settle for average when they were born for impact. You want a championship life? Then demand more from yourself than anyone ever could. Because the moment your standards become non-negotiable, so does your success. We live in the noisiest era in human history. Your phone screams, the world scrolls. Everyone wants your attention, and most of them want it to sell you something you don't need. Focus is a rebellion now, a radical act of taking your power back. Andrew Carnegie didn't build an empire by multitasking. He focused one vision, one mission, one obsession. And that's the key. Focus isn't just about what you do. It's about what you ruthlessly eliminate. Distractions are dream killers dressed in comfort. They feel good, they look harmless, but they quietly devour the energy you were supposed to give your destiny. A scattered mind builds scattered results. But a focused mind becomes a laser. And a laser can cut through steel. Champions live with blinders on. They're not concerned with who's winning on the left or right, because they're too busy carving history straight ahead. Focus isn't a skill anymore. It's a survival tactic. Use it. or lose your future to those who do. Here's the secret. They never teach you in school. You will never outperform your identity. You can set goals, write affirmations, and make vision boards until your hands bleed. But if deep down you still see yourself as small, you will sabotage every breakthrough. Because identity isn't just who you are, it's who you believe you deserve to be. A man who identifies as just getting by will never create wealth. A woman who sees herself as not good enough will never own her power. That's why the greatest transformation isn't external. It's internal. When Muhammad Ali declared, "I am the greatest," he wasn't reciting a fact. He was forging an identity. He spoke it before he became it. Because champions speak the future into the present. If you want a new outcome, you must design a new identity. Not based on where you've been, but based on where you're going. You don't need permission to become more. You need the courage to redefine who you are. Say it, live it. Back it up with relentless action. Because when your identity levels up, everything else is forced to follow. Show me your surroundings and I'll show you your trajectory. You can't plant greatness in poison soil. And you can't grow into your future if your environment is dragging you back into your past. The people you talk to, the energy you absorb, the standards you normalize, they are either pushing you toward excellence or pulling you into decay. And you better choose. Napoleon Hill warned us that our minds are like fertile gardens, but they'll grow weeds just as fast as fruit if we're not careful what we let in. If you hang around 5 people who complain, guess who becomes number 6? If you surround yourself with people who settle, guess who forgets how to climb? Champions curate their environment with ruthless precision. They don't entertain low-energy talk. They don't tolerate negative gossip. They don't apologize for demanding excellence from those around them because they know. Success is contagious, but so is mediocrity. Let's talk about storms, because you're going to face them. Waves of pressure, winds of chaos, lightning strikes of fear and failure. And if you don't learn to master your emotions, you will drown in waters you were meant to walk on. Emotional control is not about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to let it dictate your decisions. Lincoln led a fractured nation through civil war, not because he never felt anguish, but because he chose wisdom over wrath, clarity over panic. Champions don't act on emotion. They act on vision. They know that temporary feelings should never make permanent decisions. That's why self-worth isn't loud. It's calm. The calm of knowing who you are. The calm of knowing what matters. The calm of knowing that storms don't last, but your purpose does. Emotional mastery is the reason the powerful remain grounded while the world shakes, because the champion isn't the one who shouts the loudest. It's the one who holds the line when others break. Faith, the invisible fire that outlasts failure. Let's talk about what keeps you standing when logic says quit, when numbers say no, when every door slams and the world forgets your name. What keeps the fire alive when the wind howls and the light dies? Faith. Not the kind you whisper in a church pew, not the kind you post about once a year, but the kind that burns in your gut when everyone calls you crazy, the kind that built pyramids, the kind that put a man on the moon, the kind that whispered to Nelson Mandela in a concrete cell, "This is not the end." Faith is what makes you take the next step when you can't see the staircase. It's not logical. It's not visible, but it's essential. Champions walk by vision, not by sight. They invest in dreams no one else sees yet. They keep digging not because the gold is guaranteed, but because they refuse to die without giving their gift a chance to breathe. Faith is louder than facts, stronger than statistics, and more loyal than motivation. Because faith doesn't care how dark it looks. It only asks, Will you still move? Patience, the test most people fail. In a world where everything is instant, instant likes, instant success stories, instant answers, patience feels like punishment. But make no mistake, patience isn't punishment, it's preparation. You don't harvest the same day you plant. You don't build legacy in a month. You don't shape a champion overnight. Michelangelo didn't carve David in a weekend. It took 4 years to create a statue the world would remember for centuries. And yet here you are, doubting yourself because it's been 6 months without a breakthrough. Get serious. Patience doesn't mean sitting still. It means working the process while trusting the timing. It means showing up when the results are invisible. It means becoming someone worthy of what you asked for before it arrives. The universe doesn't pay interest on impatience. It pays rewards to those who stay planted, stay grounded, and grow deeper while they wait. Champions know it's not just about what you get. It's about who you become while waiting. And sometimes the wait isn't punishment. It's polish, pain, the uninvited teacher that sculpts kings. Let's not sugarcoat it. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. But here's the part they rarely say out loud. Pain is not your enemy. It's your instructor. Every breakthrough has a birth price, and pain is often the midwife. Edison failed more than 10. 0 times 10, 0 painful miscalculations before lighting the world. But those failures were his professors, and each one whispered, not this way, but keep going. Pain teaches. It exposes your false beliefs. It forces you to confront who you really are, not who you pretend to be when life is easy. And yes, it cuts deep. But the same blade that wounds can carve something sacred. Champions don't run from pain. They listen to it. They sit with it. They ask it, what are you here to teach me? Because on the other side of pain is power, is clarity, is rebirth. You weren't meant to avoid pain. You were meant to rise through it. Let's get honest. We're all going to die. One day your name will be spoken for the last time. One day the world will move on. The question is, what echoes will you leave behind? Money fades, status erodes, but impact is eternal. The Wright brothers didn't just build a plane. They gave the world wings. Malala didn't just speak up. She gave courage to millions of silenced girls. Tesla didn't just invent, redefine the future. That's legacy. Legacy is the fingerprint you leave on the soul of the world. It's not just what you build, it's who you become while building it. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you live each day with one question ringing in your bones. Will this moment matter when I'm gone? Champions don't live for applause. They live for echo. They live to make such an indelible mark that long after their dust, their words, their work, their courage still move people to act. Because the only thing greater than living for yourself is living in such a way that others rise after you. Every morning before your feet touch the ground, you are handed a quiet weapon more powerful than talent, luck, or circumstance. Choice, not the dramatic, life-altering kind you make once a decade, but the small, invisible choices you make every day. The ones no one sees but shape everything. What time you wake up, whether you keep your word, what thoughts you allow in your mind, what standard you allow from yourself. You don't rise by chance. You rise by choice. Most people think destiny is written in the stars. It's not. Destiny is written in your habits, in your rituals, in your response when it's hard, when it's dull, when it's inconvenient. Martin Luther King didn't wait for comfort to choose courage. He chose it on the balcony, in the marches, in the jail cell. Every day, champions choose the hard thing, the right thing, the high road, even when it's uphill, because they know every choice you make casts a vote for the person you're becoming. And in the end, your life is nothing more than the story written by your choices. Here's the truth. Courage is not reserved for heroes in capes or warriors on battlefields. Courage lives in boardrooms and bedrooms, in mirror reflections and midnight doubts. Courage is the act of becoming more than your fear. It's speaking up when silence is safer. It's starting again when failure still stings. It's walking into the unknown when comfort begs you to stay still. There's no arrival without risk, no breakthrough without boldness, no greatness without defiance of fear. Elon Musk risked his fortune that was on visions most called insanity, not because he had guarantees, but because he had courage. You want to rise? Then make peace with discomfort. Shake hands with rejection. Sit next to fear and tell it, you can ride with me, but you will never drive. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let it decide your future. Power can be faked. Confidence can be borrowed. But integrity is earned moment by moment, decision by decision. It's what you do when no one is clapping. It's how you act when no one is watching. It's the way you treat the janitor and the CEO the same. Champions don't build trust with speeches. They build it with consistency, with alignment between their words and their walk, with truth in their tone and character in their silence. And here's the truth. Without integrity, your talent is just noise. Your reputation may shine for a season, but only integrity builds a legacy. People will forget what you said. They'll forget what you wore, what you drove, how loud you spoke, but they will never forget how you made them feel and how true you stayed to what you claimed to believe. The greatest armor you can wear isn't strength. It's alignment. It's being able to look in the mirror at night and say, I didn't betray myself today. Talent is common. Hunger is rare. You can graduate top of your class. You can have connections, charisma, resources. But if you don't have hunger, real, gut-level, unshakable hunger, you will never endure the fire it takes to build something that lasts. Hunger is not comfortable. It's not glamorous. It doesn't post pretty quotes. Hunger wakes up early, stays up late, keeps going when the body says stop. It whispers in your ear when you hit your limit. One more rep, one more call, one more day. Every legend you admire, every single one was driven by hunger, not for applause, not for validation, but for becoming. They weren't chasing fame. They were chasing full potential, chasing the feeling of leaving nothing behind, of dying empty. Because hunger isn't about what you want. It's about what you can't live without. If you want to know someone's future, don't look at their dreams. Look at how they treat themselves. Self-respect is the thermostat of your life. You will never rise consistently above how you see yourself. You will never demand more from others than you demand from yourself. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing people who don't. You stop explaining your worth to those who can't see it. You stop lowering your standards to keep company with comfort. You show up with dignity. You speak with intention. You work like someone who knows the value of their name. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you show up when it's hard, every time you speak truth instead of people-pleasing, you are casting a vote for the version of you that knows, I am worthy. Not someday, not after success. Right now, we live in a world that worships novelty. New hacks, new ideas, new shortcuts. But champions bow to repetition. Because repetition is not boring. It's the birthplace of brilliance. Mozart didn't compose greatness the first time he touched a piano. He played the same scales again and again until they were no longer notes. They were extensions of his soul. Repetition rewires the brain. It etches excellence into the bones. It's how the body learns what the mind believes. You want to master your craft? Then fall in love with the mundane, with the unsexy, with the uncelebrated, the early mornings, the late night edits, the fifth draft, the 100th rep, the 1,000th quiet choice to keep going. Because success isn't made in the spotlight. It's made in the dark where no one claps and only repetition remains. Forget time. Forget money. Energy is your most valuable resource. Without it, your time is wasted. Your talents are muted. Your ideas remain stillborn. And yet most people spend their energy like it's unlimited on gossip, on worry, on endless scrolling, on battles that have nothing to do with their destiny. Champions protect their energy like royalty protects the crown. They curate their environment. They fast from distractions. They cut ties with emotional vampires. They ask every day, does this give me life or drain it? Because they know energy is everything. You don't rise by doing more. You rise by managing what fuels you. 1 hour of focused, high-level energy is worth more than 10 hours of distracted movement. So guard your focus. Elevate your input. Disconnect from anything that dims the fire inside, because your energy is your signal. And when you vibrate on a higher frequency, everything changes. Let's talk about what no one wants to admit. Even the strong get tired. Even the driven collapse. Even the disciplined want to disappear sometimes. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. Burnout doesn't always mean you failed. Sometimes it means you've been strong for too long without rest. It means you've given everything except compassion to yourself. Champions break too, but they don't stay broken. They pause, they breathe, they realign, because real power doesn't come from pushing nonstop. It comes from knowing when to retreat, when to recharge, when to reconnect with the reason you started. You are not a machine. You are a force of nature. And even nature rests. The ocean doesn't rage endlessly. Even the fiercest waves pull back before striking again. So don't fear the pullback. Don't fear the pause. Use it. Heal in it. Return stronger because of it. You want to know why most people never hear the call of their greatness? Because they've turned up the volume of everything except their own soul. The world is loud. Opinions, news, voices of the mediocre, endless input screaming for your attention. And most will never hear the whisper of purpose because they never shut the world off long enough to listen. Champions go silent. They withdraw to think, to feel, to process, to hear the deeper calling that isn't found in headlines but in stillness. Jesus withdrew to the mountains. Lincoln walked alone through sleepless nights. Jobs took silent walks to unlock clarity. Silence is sacred. It is where power regenerates. It is where clarity sharpens. In a world obsessed with broadcasting, be the one who listens, because what you need next is not more advice, not more comparison, not more volume. It's alignment. And that only arrives in the quiet. Here's a bitter truth most never face. Your ego is not your confidence. It's your cage. It's the voice that resents correction, the force that fears humility, the illusion that whispers, you already know enough. But champions don't let ego lead. They let truth lead. They let growth lead. They let feedback refine theme even when it stings. Because they know that ego only exists to protect the version of you that's too afraid to evolve. It's the last defense of the old you. You want to rise? Then kill the part of you that demands to be right. So you can become the one who chooses to grow. Be the student. Be the novice. Be the one willing to ask dumb questions in smart rooms. Because ego wants applause, but purpose wants impact. And when you trade ego for elevation, you stop performing and you start transforming. Let's end the lie here. Right now, once and for all, you are not valuable because of what you produce. You are not worthy because of how many people clap. You are not enough only when someone else says so. You are enough because you decide to be. Undeniable self-worth is not granted. It is declared. It is claimed. It is forged through fire and affirmed in silence. It is the choice to stand tall in a room that underestimates you, not with arrogance, but with quiet authority. It is the decision to stop begging for a seat at the table and start building your own damn table. Because when you define your worth, no one else gets to put a price tag on you again. They will question you. Let them. They will doubt you. Let them. They will overlook you, mock you, resist you, until they can't ignore you anymore. But the world's validation is a poor substitute for the voice inside that says, I know who I am, and I don't need permission to be powerful. Look back at everything you've survived. Every time you got up bleeding, every time you walked through fire and came out sharper, every time you bent but refused to break. That wasn't luck. That wasn't random. That wasn't weakness. That was self-worth, standing up without applause. That was your soul proving again and again, I am still here, and I'm not done. Because a champion isn't made of medals, not titles, not trophies. A champion is made of decision. The decision to believe, the decision to rise, the decision to protect their worth like their life depends on it. Because it does. You can't fake this. You can't borrow it. You must define it. And once you do, everything changes. The way you walk, the way you work, the way you show up when no one is watching. Because deep down, when your self-worth is undeniable, you stop asking the world, am I enough? And instead, you tell it loudly, clearly, unapologetically. I am more than enough. I am here to rise. I am here to lead. I am here to live like I matter, because I do. You are not the opinions of others. You are not your worst moment. You are not your bank account, your job title, or your follower count. You are your decisions. You are your resilience. You are your fire. And now it's time to protect it, to proclaim it, to walk it out with every breath, every action, every hour of your life. No more negotiating with doubt. No more renting your value to others. No more shrinking to make them comfortable. You are not an apology. You are not a maybe. You are not a backup plan. You are the storm they never saw coming. You are the truth that won't stay quiet. You are the champion they never believed in until now. And your power begins the moment you draw that final line in the sand, plant your feet, lift your head, and say, from this moment forward, my self-worth is not up for debate. It is not on trial. It is not yours to grant or deny. It is mine, and it is undeniable. That is where the real transformation begins. That is where champions are born.